that has some relevance in terms of what's going on across this country today. And this year is no exception. We varied just a little and decided that along the way of presenting the topic and discussing the topic, we'd also try to assemble the largest panel discussion that's ever been assembled. And we're very close to that. When we identified the topic, we thought it would be a popular one. But I was amazed when Lindy had done some contacting and people responded enthusiastically and in large numbers. And so all of a sudden it shifted from a couple of tables, 6 or 8, to this format, which is really more of an information session than a panel discussion. But the key word is the information. I think what we'll talk about tonight and how we will communicate with one another and what gets recorded in terms of tonight's video will be information that can be used not only by each of us, but by all the libraries in York County that might have a reason for using the video, or anyone else that sees it. Let me just suggest that you're never supposed to start with an apology, and I want to start with one. I apologize for Julie Wheeler, the President Commissioner of the York County Commission, who was going to be with us tonight and had a last-minute conflict that kept her from being here, and so I do want to suggest that she was going to be here, and she regrets not being here. The next thing I'm called upon to do is to read an acceptable definition of food insecurity. And so this is word for word from what feedingamerica.org suggests. And that is, the USDA defines food insecurity as a lack of consistent access to enough food for every person in a household to live in an active and healthy life. This can be a temporary situation for a family or can last a long time. Food insecurity is one way we measure how many people can afford food. And that's probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that's the phrase you heard. More than 34 million people, including 9 million children, experience food insecurity in the United States. Food insecurity can cause serious health issues when people have to choose between spending money on food, on medicine, on health care. Food insecurity can make it more difficult for a child to learn and grow. Food insecurity can lead to difficult decisions like choosing between food and rent and other bills and transportation costs. How often do we hear that story in the media? Day in and day out, all year long. To get us underway, let me ask each of us on this semicircle panel to identify ourselves and use no more than 2 or 3 minutes to name our organization and to very briefly describe the target population or the focus of that organization. And let me start right here with the paralyzed look on that one. You want to stand and do that? Everybody get a look at you.
Sure. So my name is Sandra Ness. I'm the Director of Pupil Services at Southeastern School District. So we serve K through 12 students in our district. We have approximately 2,470 students, give or take 1 or 2 on any given day. So my job at Southeastern is to, the way I look at it is to remove barriers for students, whether that is through mental health or food insecurity or any of the numbers of barriers that students can have. That's my job. So I provide leadership and support to all the departments that provide student services, such as school counselors, school social workers, our school medical staff, counseling, school psychology, all of those things. And part of my job is to work with our social services coordinators to make sure our students have what they need to be successful in school, including things like food and clothing and all the things, the basic needs, because until you meet basic needs, education can't build upon.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
And I'm the elementary social worker with Southeastern, so she kind of spoke for me. I'm Karen Graham. I'm the food service director at Southeastern, and we participate in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program, as most public schools in the country do. And through that, we receive federal funds for the meals that we provide to students. So students can apply and qualify for free meals or reduced price meals, and we get funding accordingly based on the students that we serve. Currently in Pennsylvania, all breakfasts are free. Governor Wolf, we started the year. Our district for many years now has served, we started out serving free breakfast to kindergarten and first graders as a pilot program, and then we expanded that. After 2 years, were intending to expand it to second grade, and our school board said, no, we think we should go to fourth. And so we expanded to fourth grade, and then when we reopened after the pandemic, we expanded that to fifth and sixth grade, although all meals were free that year after a while. So we started the year serving kindergarten through sixth grade free breakfast, and then after a month, Governor Wolf made the entire state free for breakfast. So we are serving all students free breakfast, and then lunch according to what they qualify for.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Zanella. I'm from the Lord's Lunch at St. John in New Freedom. We're primarily a food ministry. We serve lunch every Saturday for anybody who is either hungry or physically hungry or socially hungry. Should put it that way. And we also have a food pantry where we distribute on Mondays and Wednesdays and every other Tuesday evening.
Thank you.
I'm Clay Towson with the Southern York County Pantry. We're located in New Freedom at St. John the Baptist Catholic Church campus. But even though we're on their campus, we are a lot more than Catholic services. We service, like last spot, we served 153 families, right? And of those, I can give you breakdowns of adults, children, and seniors, but talk to me later. But we serve primarily the Southern School District, parts of the Southeastern School District, and the Dallastown School District. So we serve a lot of folks, and a lot of our folks are not only for one-time, two-time clients as such, but most of them are just regulars. They keep coming back because things are not good. So we help however we can. Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Moy. I'm director with Southern Community Services. We're actually conveniently right across the street in the parking lot at the YMCA. I've been there about a year, but it was there in 2019 prior to the pandemic, and when it did close down, we were still offering food boxes. So they were being, it was a lineup, and they would go out and give the box. So we service children, adults, and seniors as well. Our numbers have been increasing. We are getting to service more families that are coming in. And I just did statistics in November, and we went up from 135 to close to 200 individuals this past month. It's a unique program because it also offers services for utilities. So we do provide service. We're a partner agency with MedEd, Columbia Gas, and also Dollar Energy Fund, if you're familiar with those. So when we do receive York County referrals, we see some families that might be not just Southern York County, but in the York County area. So some of them then learn about the pantry, and we do give them an opportunity. They tell us that they have a food need, and then we give them the resources in their area in York where they can get food, whether it's from the York County Food Bank or Central Pennsylvania Food Bank.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Mockabee. I'm from York County Human Services. One of our primary roles is overseeing all of the other social service departments in York County, including children and youth services, aging, mental health, drug and alcohol, and our youth development center. But another thing we do is we administer grants for the low income, homeless, and near homeless people in York County.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erin Adams Ports. I'm the Director of Development for First Fruits Farms. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the farm, but we're located right over the border in Freeland, Maryland. The farm started back in 1998 in Rick Bernstein's backyard at about a third of an acre. And now our current farm campus is 203 acres. We donate 100% of everything we grow. So in 2022, we will have donated about just a little under 2.4 million pounds of produce. We serve Central Maryland, Central Pennsylvania. Our footprint reaches out to West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. We've gone down into Florida. But the concentration of the majority of our produce is located in Central Pennsylvania and Central Maryland. We work with many partners. I recognize some of the names that were on the sheet earlier, and really our organization is built around volunteer service and community partnerships. So we're really here to grow more, give more, and serve more. The farm is a wonderful place to visit. We welcome you all to come in and visit and serve with us. And really, we currently work with over 130 partners throughout our footprint. COVID exploded the need throughout our communities, and that grew from we had about 35 partners in 2020, and now, like I said, we're over 130. So we look forward to finding ways to serve more of Southern York County, really anybody that's in need of food. And if you are looking for volunteer opportunities and ways to serve the community, please keep us in mind. We're always welcome to, have you come down and visit and help harvest. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Trevor Carrington, and I'm the business manager for Southern York County School District. So a lot of what I was going to say was stolen by Southeastern. So that's excellent. I don't have to repeat myself for them. So to contrast a little bit, we have a round number 2,900 students in our 6 municipalities, so kind of the area that we're in. One of my many roles is our, de facto food service director. I'm not the one managing the planning of the meals, but I do get to manage our free and reduced lunch program. So we have about 25% of our population would qualify for free and reduced meals. Some other information Southeastern already mentioned. This is the first year since the pandemic started that meals you actually have to pay for meals again. We were blessed with the free lunch and breakfast over that period of time. It very much helped the food instability for our district, and we saw a big increase in participation as a result. Free breakfast this year has been also a blessing in that it's giving an opportunity for any hungry kid to eat. But probably similar to Southeastern, we're seeing some issues on the paid side of things with when meals were free for 2.5 years. It's tough to kind of get back into paying. And then I'm going to leave the rest for Jill because she's going to get to talk all the rest about our district. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Brillhart. I'm the CEO at the York County Food Bank. And our food bank works with many of the partners that are here today. In York, we have over 80 partners right now that we're working with. So we bring in lots of food, and then our goal is to get it back out to those partners as fast as possible, and so that the partners, can provide the food directly to those that are in need. So not only do we work with all of those partners, but then we also do some of our own direct food distribution. So as a result of COVID, we started doing a drive-through distribution, and that's been ongoing. It was once a week. We've now pulled it back a little bit, so it's every other week. It happens every other Tuesday, and currently it's happening at Living Word Church, the community church. So people are able to drive up and pop open the trunk of their car, and we have a quick conversation with them about how many people are in their family, and then we fill their car with as much food as we possibly can. So they don't have to come back for it. They can at least, hopefully, the hope is that they can sustain themselves for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then we also do some other programming. We have our senior box program, which again, some of our agencies that are represented today also help us with that. And then the latest change with that program is we are now working with DoorDash, so we're offering home delivery to many of our seniors that if they have a hard time getting to one of the sites to be able to get that senior box. And that box, it's a box of food that is provided to them once a month. And then we are also doing some home delivery, and then soon within the next couple of months, we're going to be launching an online delivery program. So basically, people will be able to go onto our website and be able to select the foods that they need, and then be able to go to certain hubs and certain sites to be able to pick up that food. So so we're excited about some of those things, and just happy to share some of that information with you guys today.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, good evening. I'm John Seiko. I'm here to talk a little bit about how the well in Glen Rock got established. And one day, our former pastor, Dave Betterman, and his wife were walking through town. And they said a bunch of kids hanging out at the convenience store, just nowhere to go. They were lost. And he came up with the idea of finding a place to rent. So he found 32 Water Street. It was a former daycare. It was closed for 5 years. It went through 2 floods. A bunch of us volunteers from the well went in, they cleaned it all up, got it all ready. That was back in 2018 that we did that. A lot of painting and to get it ready to open up for the kids. And Judy's going to talk what all we do for the community at the well.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Judy Flemons, and the Well's a ministry of the Emmanuel United Methodist Church in Glen Rock. We started serving meals when COVID hit because, of course, the schools were closed, no food. For 16 weeks, we did grab-and-go meals, distributed grab-and-go meals. After that, we had volunteers were wearing out, so we reduced it to 3 days a week. And since 1920, we've been doing 1 day a week of hot grab-and-go meals. We partner with the York County Food Bank. We received a grant for a refrigerator so that we could have fresh produce. We partner with First Fruits also for fresh fruits. We've had very many generous donors over the years who provided funds so that we could carry on this mission. And if you know anything about Glen Rock has no grocery store. So the only thing they have is a convenience store, which of course has high prices. So there really is a need in our community for the services that we provide.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pam Haslam. I'm from the Harvest Pantry at the York Regional Dream Center. And we provide, since COVID started, a drive-through distribution once a month, the first Wednesday. And every month we have something that's called Wish List Wednesday, where our guests get to fill out a form that tells us what they want. And they pick that up the first Wednesday of each month. And then every Wednesday, they get to come every week. Prior to COVID, they came in to shop and they only could come once a month. But there was such a great need, and there still is, that we decided to do a survey to see what they thought, if they wanted to come back in and shop, or if they'd like to keep the drive-through distribution. And 90% of our guests chose the drive-through distribution because they get something every week. And thanks to the York Food Bank, we're able to provide them meat every week. And we also provide eggs. First Fruits Farms in the summer, we get to provide produce with that. So we've seen a lot of success and we're going to maintain the drive-through.
I'm Sandy Yingling, co-director of the Harvest Cafe. We work together in the Harvest with my husband. And we're open Mondays and Wednesdays, and we serve hot meals. Mondays we serve lunch, and on Wednesdays we serve dinner. And we serve anyone who walks in the door that's from this area. And we have people from York come down and everything. No one's ever turned away. And last month we served 825 meals. So we'll talk about the rest of it later.
Thank you.
I have to mention the really delicious and great smelling bread.
Yes.
And cinnamon rolls.
Yes, and cinnamon rolls.
I'm gonna slide down here so I'm not standing in front of the Or you can, I don't know. I'm Jill Platts. I'm the social services coordinator at Southern York County Schools, and I have to say right now that my heart is extremely full, and every single person in here, except for the farm, but I have actually, I think, bagged some of your fruit and vegetables before for families. But I've worked with you and in the mission of helping families and connecting our students and our families with your services. And we can't thank you all enough for what you do for our community. When I first started, coming up on 15 years ago at Southern York, we didn't have as many food pantries as we have right now, as well as other services for our families, and we were somewhat isolated from a lot of services in York. But thanks to all of your organizations, we've brought those services here, and our families are benefiting from them. Sometimes I feel like our families don't appreciate it enough and take advantage of it enough, because when I talk to other school districts that aren't in Southern York, you know, we're resource rich when it comes to food pantries. There are all of these pantries right here in probably a several mile area. So we have a lot of resources, but we need to make sure we continue to connect our families that are in need with the resources, especially when we have new families move up here from Maryland who aren't familiar with what's available. And when we do tell them, they're shocked and they're touched that our community cares so much. So part of my role is, as Sandy shared with her role at Southeastern, is to connect students and families with services to reduce those barriers to education. If a student is hungry, they're not going to focus on their education. If they're not fed well, their mental health's going to suffer. So this community here and supporting the basic needs and providing those healthy meals and sustainability for, you know, to provide food security is so important to our students. I have to say a big shout out to everyone. During COVID, when we shut down, the essential workers were out, and you guys really filled that gap for families. We, as a district, some of our staff came and volunteered at the organization to either cook or deliver or box and bag food, and I know that's a lot of what I did that year. But it meant so much to be able to help families in that way, and their appreciation you don't always get to see, but we got to see it, and I thank you all. We'll continue, you know, currently I know Southeastern, we were just talking, they have backpack programs that are going home to students. We don't do that currently, but that's something eventually I would love to be able to incorporate with partnerships with all of you. But I think just these relationships we're building here, and I know I can pick up the phone and call Marie, I can call any of you, you know, you've helped in other ways as well, not just with food, but you know, I know I can pick up the phone if there's a family in need and they're going to be taken care of. So we appreciate that, and we hope to continue this partnership for many years. So.
Yes, I'm Judge Lindy Sweeney, and my role here is to, and I've accomplished it, get all of you here, and I thank you so much, because I don't think one person said no, and that is amazing. I want to thank Michele, because Michele and I collaborate every year on this, and this topic was Michele's idea, and I want to give her credit for that. She's the executive director here at the library. So that's my role, and my goal is to learn. So I thank all of you for coming.
Thank you all. We had some conversation before things started during one of the silences. I'll get you. I'll get her. I left somebody out that didn't get the word that the panel was up here, and welcome.
Thank you.
Who are you and what organization?
My name is Nicole Strassman. I'm the executive director at South Central Senior Center, which is located in the New Freedom Community Building, so just up the road here. As the name explains, we are exclusive to seniors. They've been in this community since 1983, started in Glen Rock, have relocated over here to New Freedom along the way. Prior to COVID, we had two services we provided. One would be home delivered meals for people who cannot drive, cannot get out. Meals on Wheels is what it's more commonly called. They would deliver 3 days a week to homebound seniors in the community. We serve 13 municipalities, so all the way up to Loganville, Stewartstown, obviously New Freedom, and all that surrounding area. During COVID, they had to make some adjustments, so we would have the home delivered meals, and then we also had a congregate meal setting. which provided the opportunity for seniors to get out and socialize, remain active, and stay connected, and they could have lunch at the center if they were able to attend. During COVID, obviously, our building was closed, so we had to adapt like many people did, so we started offering a drive-through service. Since some of the restrictions lifted, now we are offering dual service. We can either do a drive-through meal, or they can come in and dine in our dining room with other seniors. It's up to them. Plus, we still have our home delivered meals going. Home delivered meals, we deliver about 1,200 meals every month in this area, in the 13 municipalities. And for our dine-in and grab-and-go combination, it's somewhere on the average of close to 1,000 meals every month.
Okay, glad you're here. It occurred to us, we talked before the meeting, that the panel probably knows one another and knows one another's work better than the average panel. And it certainly sounds like as we go around that there's a lot of consistency there. Yes?
Stewartstown Food Pantry.
Okay.
Yes, this past year, we've done 125 households, and we've increased from last year 43%. It started off as a school backpack program, went to school lunches, then we went to the food pantry, and since COVID hit and everything, we've increased 43% in our outflow of food that we've been giving them.
Okay. Thank you. Glad you're here. You know, you think of the non-traditional. I went into education as a teacher in 1965, and so the idea of breakfast for all or school lunch for all, that was off in the future. All we need to do is recall within the last 2 years, 2.5 years, the impact of COVID when all of a sudden school was interrupted and those breakfasts were interrupted. I meant food was interrupted. And it underscores the importance of what's behind the programs that everybody affiliates with. You know, how does it affect the county in a broader sense? I'd like to pick on just a couple of you, and we mentioned it before the meeting, and one of everybody's least favorite things is standing up and speaking before a group. And for those of you that were at the tail end of those introductions, I apologize. Somebody has to go first. First you get over with. Last you got it to deal with. But I want to pick on Jen Brillhart on a particular topic, and that topic is the current state of our community in terms of a little more detail on the senior box and how that works. Is that like a Meals on Wheels but a local version?
Sure. So the Senior Box program, it's a federal program. So federally, it's made available throughout the United States. It's known as CSFP. Is the proper terminology, but we just call it a senior box. But it's a box of non-perishable food items, and so it's an assortment of, it's usually some canned meat, always some sort of protein, and then a couple of cans of vegetables, a can of fruit, always a milk, a cereal, and then the block of cheese that people know so well. The government cheese is always included. So yes, seniors are able to sign up for that. We're currently in York County, we are serving about, we just went up, I think we're around 1,700 seniors that we serve each month that are able to receive that box. But we know the need is even greater, so we are pushing and hoping that we can continue to increase that number. And I would say about 900 of those seniors are now participating in this DoorDash program where the box is getting delivered directly to their home, rather than having to go to one of our partner agencies or to our site. So that's a really nice advantage or thing that we're able to use right now, and we're looking to expand that even more. So if you're for those that are here today, if your agency is not signed up for our Senior Box program, we'd love to involve you in that, and you can participate in that. Just talk to us. Reach out to one of us at the food bank, and or if you know seniors that are eligible or could be eligible for that program, again, just put them in touch with the York County Food Bank, or 211 is always, I always use that as a good resource, because you can remember that number very easily. So pass them on to 211, or yourself if you're interested and want to sign up for that program. We'd be happy to serve you.
Okay. The other side I'd like to pick on is Jess. I would like to know more about the York County's food grants and how they work. And could you give us a little more on that?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
absolutely. So the County of York has 2 food grants that assist in trying to reduce food insecurity in York County. The first is called the State Food Purchase Program, where funds are derived from the state, and then counties are given an allocation. Last year, that state grant was $19.7 million. York County's share was $600,000. So it's based on the total number of people on unemployment compensation, SNAP benefits, and medical assistance. So in all of Pennsylvania, York County has about 3% of those. Our allocation this year is just shy of $600,000. And then with those funds, we contract with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And those funds are put on account for pantries, shelters, and soup kitchens who participate in the York County State Food Purchase Program network. We currently have 32 different pantry, shelters, and soup kitchens in this network. And those different entities are then provided with an allocation of that $600,000. They're different. You can apply to be a participating pantry every year, and then you're given an application, and then your application is rated based on several factors. It could be rated on the number of households that you serve, the number of pounds you provide when you do your distributions, the average price per pound you're paying, and then once we establish a score, your pantry is given an allocation, and then those funds are put on account at Central PA Food Bank, where pantries can purchase foods from Central PA Food Bank directly at 19 cents per pound or less, or if there's items that are outside of what Central PA Food Bank has on hand, they will purchase items at wholesale cost or better. Last fiscal year with this program, York County served 56,410 unduplicated individuals in the programs at the various entities. That means that 56,410 people visited our participating pantries, soup kitchens at least one time. The funds also assisted in serving close to 78,000 meals in soup kitchens and 38,000 meals at shelters. Last year, the funds purchased a total of 942,000 pounds of food. To speak to inflation, you've seen the costs go up in your own bills. That we've not been immune to that either. So while our allocation has increased slightly, I think we received about $40,000 more last year. Prior to the pandemic, we were leveraging our funds at 31 cents per pound with this grant. Last year, we leveraged them at 64 cents per pound. So one of the things we're doing to counteract that inflation is really trying to incentivize the pantries to stretch their dollars as far as they can through our performance-based application process. The second grant that we have is called the Emergency Food Assistance Program. It's a federal grant. We contract with York County Food Bank for that program, and Jen can talk more about that. But this is where actual commodities come into the county. They go to York County Food Bank, and then we are reimbursed at 12 cents per pound for every pound that is distributed. And the County of York turns 100% of those funds over to York County Food Bank, and that pays for their administration of the program, the storage, the delivery fees, and those kind of things. So that's kind of a nutshell of what we do in a nutshell with our 2 food grants.
Okay. What questions do you have of one another?
I have a question for the school district representatives to explain a little bit more about the financial impact on the school districts as a result of funding or lack of funding for food programs in the school districts.
Well, currently our funding's higher than it has been, and for the past 2.5 years, it's been higher. When they made all meals free, they also increased the funding that we got, the federal funding that we got. So that's been a huge help to us to be able to provide food to those students. And, you know, we're seeing huge increases in costs as well. So we have not had, at Southeastern, we haven't had an increase in the meal prices since pre-pandemic, probably several years pre-pandemic. So when you're not increasing your selling price, if you're not getting it from somewhere, and the food cost is going up so much, so those extra federal funds have really helped. And now we are receiving extra state funds for those free breakfast meals.
So we're probably pretty similar. Since the pandemic, we've received a lot more federal funding, and like she said, for state funding for additional breakfast. We have increased meal prices, but that was partially because we have to remember, I believe we increased them before the pandemic began, or we decided we were going to, but never ended up charging that. So it may look like we raised prices, but it was because we raised prices on a price that we never actually charged. A lot of the way the funding works for the school lunch program is based on your free and reduced lunch participation percentage. Southern has the lowest in the county, so it's a good thing. We have the lowest percent. It is 25%. So the bad part that it's about like 1 in every 4 kids is free or reduced. So that's the good and the bad. And Southeastern, I'm sure you guys are pretty close to us in that.
We're at 32.4%, but there's a difference between, my understanding is there's what's called if you, in order to qualify for what's called a community eligibility school where you would get all those funds, you have to qualify at 40%. But they look at what's called a certified percentage, which everybody's certified percentage is lower because they only look at those people who are state certified. So while we have about 32.4% of our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, our certified percentage is only 24%. And it's based on who applies through the online system and gets certified through the state and who does paper applications. We have about 200 more kiddos who qualify through the paper applications, so our percentage is actually lower. So those places that have 40%, they qualify for the certification program, the community eligibility school program.
So, and our certified would probably be even lower at that point. One of the big things that is common for every school, and you probably have heard about it in the news, probably pre-pandemic, but it still is now popping up again, is cafeteria debt or meal debt. So for schools, and this is in the state of Pennsylvania, we are not allowed to refuse a meal unless directed by a parent. So it doesn't matter if, good and the bad, if a child owes, say, thousands of dollars, we have no right to refuse them a meal. So the good thing is, whether or not they can afford it, a child will always eat. And I work with Jill constantly on trying to work either directly with parents or have our guidance counselors try to discreetly convince the parents to apply for the free and reduced lunch program, because that is the way that can kind of stop the bleeding, and at least they won't be charged more. So the good news is we will always feed every child a lunch, and this year a free breakfast. The tricky part is they will continue to accumulate debt, and that is not something that any cafeteria funds can pay for. So despite that, we may have had record subsidies from the government, it's not something we can offset. So the good and the bad, while we were feeding more kids, the cost of our debt at times for certain students is growing. So
I think we've done a lot of outreach to try to get, to make parents aware that there's been an increase in the levels as far as the cutoffs for the free reduced lunch.
yeah, so I can touch on that
why
too.
don't you talk about this?
Something that is very confusing, and it's a wonderful thing that the state did, but it's extremely nonsensical in a way. So the way the free and reduced lunch program works, if you are 135% within the poverty limit, you would qualify for free meals. If you are 185% within the poverty limit, you would qualify for reduced meals. And that's the way it's always been. This year, on October 1st, the state decided that they would increase the SNAP limit to 200% of the federal poverty limit. So 200% would qualify you for SNAP. If you qualify for SNAP, you qualify for free meals. So if you qualify right now at the school district for reduced meals, you would actually qualify for SNAP and then get free meals. So we, Jill and I, will try to work with our families that qualify for reduced meals to get them to apply for SNAP, because they also get state benefits that they wouldn't just get being on their reduced lunch program. But then the very difficult part is I, as a reviewer of free and reduced lunch applications, might deny somebody because they made too much for reduced price meals, but they actually qualify for free. So we have to somehow reach out to those families that
And there's a stigma, I think, sometimes in applying for state benefits. The families are like, oh, I don't want to take, I'll be seen as, and I always try to, express them, this is your tax dollar. You paid this money, you're just taking it back out. So you've already paid into the taxes for the state. You qualify for this benefit, your child qualifies for this benefit, so please take advantage of it. But there is a stigma, and I think there's, we need to work on how we, get past that, as well as do as much outreach as we can.
And just for dollar amounts, I did write some quick notes. So for a family of 4, and that's a household of 4, so mom, dad, 2 kids, or whatever that household makeup is, that would be $55,512 in annual income. So that's just for a family of 4. It does go up based on the number of members in the household. So that's tough, but currently reduced is actually less than that, and to qualify for free meals it's much less than that. So it's a great move that the state of Pennsylvania made to expand the benefit offerings for our residents, but just getting the word out there is tough.
Any other questions that come to mind right away?
I'm just curious, when I think about how the parents feel about applying and such, how do the kids feel? Is there any identifier when they go through the lunch line?
No.
No, it's different. When I started teaching, we had blue cards and yellow cards for students back in the day for who had free lunch and who did not. Everyone has an ID number that they punch into the system, so no one knows.
Oh, nice.
Every student has an ID number, and no one knows if they receive free lunch or not.
And we're not allowed to tell, as he said, we feed every child, and if they are a paid child, then they're racking up that debt if they haven't brought money in. And we are not allowed to tell them that they owe money. At the high school level, you can, but anybody under, the high school level, we are not allowed to tell them. And we used to be subtle about it. They would say, hey, let somebody at home know you need some more money on your account. It wasn't like they, said you have a negative balance, but now we're not even allowed to say that at all. If the child asks, we can tell them, but other than that, we can't tell them at all.
Well, and I think back in the day, it was a restricted meal if you owed money, and now you get
At one point in time,
I remember
most districts had a policy, a free meal policy, and I think most places it was probably 3 to 5 meals, and once you were in debt for more than 3 to 5 meals, then you would get an alternative meal, peanut butter and jelly sandwich and fruit and milk or water. I mean, it was not a horrible meal, but it was not the full meal, and we are not allowed to do that anymore either, which I totally understand, because it penalizes the child and it's the parent that isn't sending money in, but sometimes that it was effective, so.
I'll just mention, similar to that, just because you're talking about children, and there was mention before about the backpack program. I think there's also, we hear the backpack program, we're always like, oh, that's such a great program, but there's also some disadvantages to that program as well, because again, you're putting the onus on the child, like giving them the backpack to take home and realize, for them to recognize, oh, wait, I don't, like, they might not even realize that they don't have a lot of food at home, or mom and dad are, are struggling, and or it now maybe, depending on what the backpack looks like and how that all works out, some of them are now, their friends now are visually seeing, oh, you have a backpack. So there's some issues around that program itself. So I know our food bank and Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, we've been trying to encourage as many of our partners as possible. It's harder, but to do a pantry, to do a school pantry if possible, and then again, and or even if you do a backpack program, to somehow communicate it to the parents and get the parents to come and pick up the backpack rather than.
And I agree. We had an emergency food pantry for a while. Our problem becomes the families don't have transportation, or their work schedules don't allow them to come pick up when we're available.
Yeah.
But I also like the idea of a delivery system. I think elementary, there's often less stigma in some respects of middle school and high school with that. So when we had the emergency food pantry, I typically would put the order. Our life skills classroom ran it, and they would put the boxes together with me. I tell them how many in the family. I drive up, they load it, and I take it to a family. So I think something like that, if we could partnership with churches and things like that, or some of our PTOs to maybe do some of the delivery as well, might be a way to do that. But from talking with some of the other districts, sustainability of those efforts can be difficult too. So
one of the topics we were talking about, and I think I didn't introduce Dr. Onifer from the Rotary Club of Southern York County, and I think this was his question. Where are the gaps? Well, there are wonderful pieces here, but maybe you all have some perspectives on where are the gaps, so we'd like to hear that.
I think one area where there is a definite gap, or there are people that are eligible for the programs like SNAP and WIC, and they don't take advantage of it, maybe due to stigma, maybe due to the fact they don't realize that they're eligible. So really trying to get the message out there. There's a electronic application process for much of SNAP. You can order SNAP goods off of Amazon now. It'll even tell you when you look at things on Amazon if it's SNAP eligible. So things can be much more discreet than they were in the past. So maybe more people would sign up for these programs that they are in fact eligible for.
And I think sometimes some people aren't as tech savvy to do the Compass application can be cumbersome and hard to understand if you're not used to doing it. Though they have an app now too, but you can call in to apply as well. So that helps. But sometimes again, people aren't aware, and they think, especially some of us who are middle generation or older, you remember food stamps, and people were paying with them in the store, and it was would be more of a stigma. Whereas now it's a card, it looks like a debit card, and you can use it, and it's a lot easier. So, I'm not sure. I don't. How do we convey that and get the messages out in the community more? And what can we do to get more families to apply as well? So, but that's some of what we do within social workers in the school is we help families apply. I can do paper applications. I can help them do it online, and we'll fax or scan or drive up the application to the York County Assistance Office to make sure that they have that access, because it is the application process is daunting for some families, and collecting all the information they need to submit. So we actually will put it all together for them in one packet and make sure it gets there so that they can get their benefits. So that's been a nice connection of having school social workers in the districts to be able to reach out and do it at their home, at our offices, wherever we need to help them.
Other questions?
Another one of the gaps too is the transportation piece, and I know a lot of the food pantries here will deliver if a family needs it, as well as school social workers, we will too. So I think that was a larger gap that we're starting to fill more with deliveries, recognizing that not all families have working transportation or gas money to get there.
Is the DoorDash option available, for example, in the southern York County community? Because both southeastern and southern, We have areas of, nicely populated suburban, but then we have a lot of outlying rural areas. So is DoorDash an option for that?
It is, you have to, yeah, I don't know where the sites are, but as soon as you have a site, it's a 15-mile radius. I think it's 15 miles, a 15-mile radius. So as long as you have a site, so one of the partners, would have to become a site. And then they have a 15, like I said, that radius around there.
The one issue you may have is it's harder to get DoorDashers. I think DoorDashers down here in
Yeah,
Southern York
you
than
might
it is in
struggle with
York.
that. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's a challenge.
But you could all sign up and then you do.
Could be drivers.
I do it actually, and it's a great way to make sure the system is set up, and this is for some of those gaps. People who tip higher get faster delivery or get delivery, and the other food may sit. But DoorDash has changed things so that incentivize dashers to pick up more orders to get a higher percentage of pickup, to make sure that those who may not be able to afford to tip higher are still getting their food. So it's interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a great way to help get food to families. So.
Other questions? In the back.
Along these lines, are there like food needy deserts scattered throughout your county?
I can't hear you up front.
Are there food needy deserts scattered throughout your county or through all the organizations that are here, or is everything covered?
I can speak that a little bit.
Can you repeat the question for the video, please?
He was asking if there's any food deserts, which are so that there's basically a void of either a supermarket or a place to go and get, or transportation even to get to a food, to receive food. And so I think it was 2020, we did a needs assessment of the entire county. We hired the Food Trust out of Philadelphia. And we worked with there was about 4 organizations that came together, and the York County Community Foundation supported those efforts. And through that, we basically analyzed the entire county, and we did find that there were food deserts at the time, including the one was in Glen Rock, which is why we really pushed and encouraged to help the well get up and running. There were a few others that were identified, and we worked to the York County Food Bank started a mobile distribution. So we purchased an old bus that we basically ripped out all the seats inside and converted it into a food pantry on wheels. And then we started going out to those different locations. But I will say honestly, with COVID, everything kind of just changed a lot. The whole landscape changed, and a lot of those pantries that were part of that needs assessment either closed or morphed or changed. So we've been in conversation and talking about that it's, if there's a need for us to do another needs assessment where we would analyze the entire county and see where those food deserts exist or where there's low food distribution, high need.
I know with Glen Rock and the well, of course I said before we have no grocery store, and the food pantry that we initiated in July in partnership with the York County Food Bank has clients the first and the third Wednesdays of the month. We did have the mobile food truck, and when that was discontinued, we became a mobile food distribution site for the second and the fourth Monday. So we have food boxes brought down from the food bank and volunteers from there who distribute food boxes on those days. And of course, we're always available for emergency food also. Sorry, what, John?
Yeah, any emergency.
Yeah, emergency food availability too.
That reminds me of a question. Who among you, as far as your organization is concerned, hasn't been asked what you hoped you would present here today, or something you want them to know that maybe they don't know, like that? That was an excellent example. Clay.
Well, Southern York County Food Pantry, we deliver or provide food in 3 different ways in our pantry. One, we started this model several years ago. We have what we call a shopper's model, our clients come into our little pantry. I call it a bodega. It's just 2 aisles, but they can shop for food that they actually use, and we give them a list depending on the makeup of their family as to what they can have, and it's almost like working using one of the cards, chip cards or whatever, and they'll go through and collect the food, take the food that they want or need, that they will actually use. Years ago, we were using the bag grocery bottle where people would drive up, we would give them bags of pre-bagged groceries, but a lot of the food that we gave them, not a lot, enough of the food, they did not use. And some of them brought the food back to us, others, no telling what they did, they gave it to their friends, other family members, whatever. But we found that, plus, the third way we deliver now and provide food, is we do deliver. We have patrons, some of our clients that are homebound or have no transportation, or for whatever reason, when they call in to us, we will have one of our volunteers pack their food for them. If they have any special needs for, like, if they have to be gluten-free or diabetic, whatever, we will pack some of their food for them in that respect. But we will deliver the food directly to their house, okay? So we have 3 ways of providing food to our clients, which gives us a lot of flexibility, gives them a lot of flexibility, and it's very effective. We feel when we moved to the shopping model, we saved quite a bit of money because we weren't giving all our food away, and so as a result of that savings, we did not have, plus donations we were receiving, financial donations and food donations, like from First Food, of course, too much for you guys sometimes. We've been able to provide additional foods to them, like milk, fresh meats, meat, like pork, beef, poultry. We're actually able to buy these foods and provide it to them. So if you're not using a shopping model, you really should consider it. But I think
I was just going to ask a question real quick. Do all of you see an uptick in use in the summer when schools are closed?
at times.
Yes.
We have in the past, I don't know what our situation is gonna be this year, but we have provided, breakfast foods for, families who normally their children were able to get breakfast at schools.
We actually have a summer feeding program where the families bring their kids in once a week and they get to shop for themselves. We have teens will come and help them and take them around, and they shop for breakfast items, lunch items, snacks, beverages for the week. And they bring their bag back every week and they get to go shopping all summer long.
And again, that's where you are filling those gaps,
Yes.
is what we were talking about. And I know Judy and John, the meals, you do those in the summer too.
Yes.
Because when our kids went virtual, a lot of you were feeding them in the community as well as some restaurants and things to make sure they got a hot meal during the day, and we appreciated that. But I was just wondering, the summers, are you seeing an uptick in use because it's supplementing what the kids are getting at school?
So we do something similar, but we put the bags together. So any family that drives through our distribution that have children, if they have 4 or less, they get 1 bag. If they have 4, 5 or more, they get 2. So we put things in like cereal, Pop-Tarts, things that kids like, macaroni and cheese, canned pasta, soup, different snacks. And we provide those to each family that has a child every week when they drive through. So we go through probably 100 of those bags a month, for children. So we started it, as a summer program, but the kids liked it so much, that we saw a need that we started just doing it all the time. So we do provide those too.
Any other questions? Comments? In the back, Lisa.
Hey, I have a question. So hypothetically, if I was an adult and...
Can you stand up so we can hear you
sure.
up here? Oh, I am standing up.
Hypothetically, if I was an adult in need, how would I find out about these wonderful resources? And then once I go to that place to find out about these resources, do you internally have any sort of collaborative piece of paper that would cover all of my options?
Like a directory?
Yeah.
When we have new folks that show up in our pantry, we give them a sheet of paper that says you can get food at these other locations as well. Like Southern Community Services, the Well, depending on I guess where they live. That's resources they can go to.
Sounds like it might be a good idea to update, make sure you've got everybody on your list.
I'm sorry, say again?
Maybe it'd be a good time to share that, and make sure you have every available place on your list.
Good point.
I was saying the same. We also on our, I hand out not just with food resources, but other community resources for housing assistance, utility assistance on our website, but I also hand it out to families, that I know, are facing some challenges. But also the 211, which, Jen had mentioned earlier, statewide system, you can call 211, give them your zip code, and tell them what your need is, and they'll tell you local resources in the area. It's also online. There's also an app now that the state has, is called Finding Your Way in PA, that you can download. And it has food, shelter, health, resources, education. So like, right now I'm in the food section, and it has, W. Dale Brower Foundation, YMCA Southern Community Services, Southern Community Services Food Pantry, South Central York County Senior Center, the Markets of Shrewsbury, Stewartstown United Methodist Church, and it gives you all those things like, so no matter where you are in Pennsylvania, it uses your location to say, here's what's nearby. So, we make sure that, our people.
And
know about
organizations
those.
can update their information each year.
At the harvest, we have a table when our guests come in, and we try to put every resource we can find on there. So I would love to have more brochures from anybody that we could put down, because people come in there all the time for resources.
So since I have all of your emails, and once you're on my email list, you don't ever get off. I will send out an email and ask for information back to me, and I will make a list, because the court provides resource lists as well, and maybe we can get a good comprehensive one that we can all use and circulate. So
I think that's a great idea.
And I wanted to have one here at the library, so maybe you and I can work together to create one and have it at both locations.
Perfect.
I know another idea, when we had the advisory board at Southern Community Services, pre-COVID, again, and pre-changes in executive directors, we were looking towards working together to come up with maybe a website, like a Southern York County resource website, or now would be, something on social media, where it would be like a one-stop shop of here's what's available in Southern York County. So that's something we can think about as well, that, because everyone's on their phone, that's where they access resources that could be shared in that way too. Now that we're coming back together again, maybe we can get together and develop that.
So York County, the Food Alliance, they created, if you go to their website or on the York County Food Bank too, we have it on our website, it's a 2-page resource flyer. The problem is you can't list, we have over 80 partner agencies, 80 pantries that we work with, so it's impossible to list all of them.
Nice to have some like a region.
Yeah, so that is more of a resource, it provides all the different resources that you could, that you might want to access, and then it links you to different spots in different areas, but again, it's the 2-on-1 that's the most comprehensive, I think, place.
And easy to.
And easy, yeah.
And I will say it is being utilized, because I get a lot of phone calls, and they will say,
have been referred from 211, so I know that they're using it.
Good, great idea. Well, yes, comment.
Yeah, one of the things that we found is the fact that SNAP doesn't offer personal items, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, dish detergent, or anything like that. So is there any way we can sort of get the companies or whatever in the area to possibly donate to us so that these will be available, say through York County Food Bank, that they'll also have those items that we could order and give out to our clients.
The ones that are not on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hygiene items, we, at our high school, we keep in the nurse's office, there are shelves of hygiene items, so students can go in and use the nurse's office and take what they need, whether it's shampoo, body wash, soap, things like that. And then we also, I tend to have them in my office, and then if we know families need them, we'll do that. But that's something that, as school districts, we could probably support the pantries in that way. We've done that before, where we do hygiene drives, and then distribute it to some of your organizations. And I know York County Human Services did a drive and gave us some that we distributed to families. So that's a way our schools could support you in collecting those, because that's not something that they're, state funds aren't paying for hygiene items. We all need toilet paper, paper towels. Those are things that families need. Female products and soap and toothpaste and all of that. So that's a way that school districts, our groups and our organizations can support you as well. Is if you're running low, reach out to us and see if we can do a drive for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have a clothing closet and a food pantry at the Kennerdale High School, but it's for the community in Southeastern. But we have done a ton of drives and we have an abundance of stuff. So, I mean, I know you're in our area, so we're more than happy to partner with you, because every time we do a drive, I mean, we get a ton of stuff, so we can definitely do one for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Our communities are so supportive.
Amazing, yeah.
We recently at our high school did a quarter drive, so that for people who need to go and do laundry, so that they can go to the laundromat. So we provide detergents and cleaning supplies and quarters for the laundry. Haircuts are usually in need. We're always looking for. One too, I think you have a fund, as we do. It's called the Sunshine Fund, which is for people who are in need, so that we can support their needs. So we can give them quarters, we can buy them laundry detergent if needed. Gas cards. But we don't wanna do it, we wanna connect them with services for the
Absolutely.
ongoing needs, but for those emergent needs, we can help to meet their needs, so.
I found one thing that I was asked with the drive-by meals, they don't have, if we have any type of seasoning, salt, pepper, for their seasoning their food, they have, that is a big need.
Makes sense.
Like the food grants in my office, we're not allowed to spend money on condiments or any of the junk food or cake mixes. We have regulations we have to adhere to, and salt, pepper, salad dressings are prohibited. So that's something we're restricted from helping with. Wow.
Yeah, we will purchase condiments to give out.
Yeah,
With the upcoming season, we also have our holiday drive, so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we just do, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we collect food. I think the Thanksgiving one, we did a big trunk or treat, and we collected food for the Thanksgiving program there. And then for our holiday winter boxes, we are doing between two of our buildings, are collecting foods to give out to families. And then also we're getting from the York County Food Bank, I think, is giving us turkey certificates for all of our families. So we're excited for that. And again, I know Jill was talking, one of our biggest barriers is transportation. And I always say it's so hard because we can get them food, but we can't get them to jobs, right? And I don't know if you know Southeastern, but it's very rural, and there's very little employment opportunities out there. So, that's definitely a barrier that we see. And so this is the littlest that we can do, at least for these holidays. And I know you guys said that you're doing a holiday meal too, right? Which is huge. Yeah,
We try to
everybody does it,
connect.
right?
We try to connect
Yeah.
them with the resource.
Yeah.
We have in the past collected food in each of our buildings and distributed to families.
you know, what I've tried to move to is connecting, making sure they're connected with resources or the families that I, you know, consistently know have larger families that will help them. Cover that.
Any other observations, questions, comments? Any additions, corrections? Going once, going twice.
I would just add one thing, and it goes along the lines of food, but the farm also, in addition to donating food, we also have educational programs that we offer to students of all ages from pre-K through high school. That includes field trips and different things like that we don't charge for any of the services that we offer at the farm. So especially for the school districts, if you know of different grades or whatever, looking for field trips, or you're looking for classes that will help not only connect students back to agriculture and nutrition, but we have cooking classes and STEM classes and different things like that we utilize the resources that we have at the farm to help tie it into curriculum that students are learning in the classroom. So if that is something that might be of interest to you, or you have teachers that are looking for different options, we also have a transportation fund, so we try to help offset transportation being a barrier to why students can't come to the farm for a field trip. Just throwing that out there to let you know that that's also a service that the farm offers.
We actually have an FFA chapter. Do you guys have FFA? We actually have a Future Farmers chapter, so my immediate thought was to connect you with that program because they do a lot of that.
That would be wonderful.
We have an agriculture, there's a club now at the high school.
There's a gardening club.
Yes.
So wonderful. Well,
That's a good one too.
Where exactly is your farm?
we are off of Middletown Road in Freeland. So from here, when I come down like 851, I take Keeney Mill Road.
Okay.
Turn off of there and follow Keeney Mill to Middletown, and we're sit right like on the corner of Keeney Mill and Middletown.
Okay.
Wow. Yep, not too far away.
Anything else?
Over here in this,
Anything else before we close?
So if you each wanted to give a message to our community of how our community can better help you, what would you say? And maybe if you just wanna start with,
I'm sorry, say
is
that
it
again.
Dr. Ness?
I didn't hear you.
If you wanted to just say one thing that you thought, a message to our community and what our community could do to help you further your goals and your missions, what would that be?
One thing. I think it's just to stay involved and stay informed. We're so resource rich, just to hear all the different things that even I've picked up on tonight. You know, we're here to help, and we just, you know, we're about, like I said before, reducing barriers. So just staying connected and working with us and staying informed so that we can fulfill our mission, I think is what I would say.
I agree, just getting the word out on all of the resources. And I know sometimes the social workers at school kind of go under the radar, so just letting everybody know that we're here, and we can help any way that we can.
I think for us, it's getting people to apply for free and reduced meals. I think there's a lot that qualify and don't realize it, and they also don't realize that a lot of other funding in schools is tied to those numbers. There's no other measure within a school district of what the poverty level of that school district is other than free and reduced meal applications. So a lot of programs use that data to determine funding. And we also get, we get government commodity food, and that's based on our free and reduced percentages as well. So the more people apply, the better.
I would say to stay involved, and I'm sure we're not the only ones, but you guys as well, we always are looking for people to volunteer and help out so that we can serve more people.
I've said this before and I'll continue to say it. We live in a very caring and giving community, we really do. And a lot of times, we have an embarrassment of riches, we really, and I would say to the community, do not stop being as generous and caring as you are. Thank you.
I would say continue to have platforms like this, and maybe even
we could have it at the schools or with PTO connect somehow. With the PTO that helps families and maybe just get more of the, communication out to them.
I'd say advocate when you talk to your legislators about additional funding, advocate to increase the guidelines, increase the thresholds. SNAP for a family of four, $55,000 is a lot to live on, so when you're having those conversations, mention the food programs.
I mean, I would say, kind of echoing what everybody's saying, I mean, it is about advocacy, it's about volunteerism, it's about raising the visibility and making it a platform that there should not be shame associated with it, that everybody sometimes needs a hand up, and it's not a handout, it's really just helping people, you know, that are struggling get through difficult times. And I mean, the farm is a nonprofit, so of course we rely on the generosity of our benefactors and our partners, and we're always grateful for whatever support you're able to share with us. And we're here to help and serve as much as we can, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us, you know, if you're in need of anything.
So, again, Southeastern said everything I could think of saying. And not to make it sound too much like a sales pitch for any of you that have family, that have students in school or grandchildren in school, the cost for, at least at Southern, and I'm sure at Southeastern as well, the cost of a lunch is very affordable. So if you are in elementary school, for us, it's $2.50. You get a lot of food for $2.50. And secondary, it's $2.70. So that didn't inflate with inflation. So that is very affordable. You will get milk, you'll get protein, you'll get a lot of food. So it is a very good deal. And honestly, you may not be able to make it a meal for $2.70 that will check all of those nutrition requirements. So it is sounding like a sales pitch. But for those families that may not qualify for free or reduced, it is a great option.
I would just, good question.
No, I just wonder how many children take advantage of those meals and then they don't eat them. Because years ago, I worked in the cafeteria at this Georgetown Elementary, and a lot of times they would go through the line and take the food, but then they didn't eat it. So I just wonder how that could be corrected. I guess there is no way to really correct it, but.
They did offer sharing tables. The pandemic
we tried
kind of paused that a little
we
bit.
started to, like, where you could, if you weren't gonna
Yeah.
eat something in a place, but we also had to watch temperature, and it was a little complicated stuff.
I would just repeat what was said about volunteerism. It's so critical to the work that we do at the food bank and all of our partners. I know many of our pantries are 100% volunteers. There are no paid staff, so volunteerism is very important, especially the younger generation. We're trying to encourage the younger generation as much as possible to get involved. So I would just put a call to action out for volunteerism.
Getting the word out about all the awesome different agencies that are around here.
I think building partnerships within ourselves to help support each other. Like, you know, there could be times when I have a lot of personal care items, and just kind of supporting each other like that, I think would be good.
I agree with everybody what they said, because I really, the resources is huge. Trying to find things for other people, I love that idea of getting a list together, and we could really use that where we are. And I was gonna say something else, but I forgot.
It'll come back to me. I would say for those in need, don't be afraid to reach out, and, you know, we're all here because we have, you know, a mission to serve others and to provide children, especially with what they need. So please don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help, or call 211 to find the pantry that's closest to you. If you don't have transportation, let us know and we'll make sure that the food gets to you. For those who are fortunate not to be in need, donate food items, hygiene items, paper products to the local pantries, donate funds so they can purchase what they need. You know, both of the school districts have welfare funds of sorts, or sunshine funds that we help families you can donate to.
all throughout the year, and we'll make sure that we put it to good use as well. So there's lots of ways to contribute, whether it's volunteer time, financially, or with products to support the community. So.
How about the senior center? Anything that you want to say about that? This
I think everyone pretty much covered everything that I would say. For us in particular, the biggest thing that I would say to the community is to spread the word, because we have been a really well-kept secret in the community. Not a lot of people know we're there, and even more people don't understand what we do. People think nursing home when you say senior center, and that's not at all what we are. So advocating and just letting people know we're here, what we do. Obviously, we always need volunteers like everyone else, donations as well, and creating that connection where we can connect with each other and help each other and, send people to the right resource.
And I want to mention one other thing. Another organization that couldn't be here tonight is the Mason-Dixon Community Services, which is sort of the counterpart of Southern Community Services, I say on the east side of 83. They wanted to be a part, but just couldn't get someone here. So when we do this group collaboration with resources, they will be included.
The mailing list, cool. Okay. I want to thank Lindy and Michele, Steve, Neil, I think you were part of the planning. I've learned a lot. One of the phrases I leave with is we are in a resource-rich community. And I feel lucky to be a Southern York County resident. And the more we share, the more lucky residents will come forward. We're a small Rotary club in this area, and yet we've kind of fallen into the ritual over the last few years of starting the business side of our meetings each Friday morning with a chant that our Sergeant at Arms says, "Welcome to," and the appropriate response is, the greatest Rotary Club in the world. We are a total of 20 members, and we are a small but mighty group. I leave this meeting with the expression when someone asks, well, what part of Pennsylvania from? I think I would probably more than willing respond with, I am from Southern, by God, York County. And that's what we represent.
But it's another organization. Joe and I belong to the Stewartstown Lions Club.
Yeah.
And we do outreach, our whole purpose, our mantra is we serve.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. We get together twice a month for a meal, and then we go through things and decide who is eligible for help. It could be anything for food to helping them at their homes if they can't do things. So we love being part of that.
Good.
We also have some new Freedom Lions here tonight, and I'm with the Shrewsbury Lions, and we all partner with a lot of our food pantries to do food drives and help keep them in hygiene items and things like that, as well as reaching out in other areas to help within our communities.
Interesting. Okay, thanks to all of you for making this happen.
Well, George, since everyone's making a pitch for the Lions, not only am I the assistant superintendent at the Southern County School District, I'm secretary at Shrewsbury Lodge 423, and we do a lot of outreach. So I took a lot of notes here. We do have a stated meeting on Tuesday. I will bring up about transportation needs and potentially some form of presentation, because we do a lot of community outreach. We just did something for the veterans. We took 2 truckloads of supplies that were getting shipped out to veterans. We did a toy drive for 3 families in the Stewartstown area. So there's a lot that Shrewsbury Lodge 423 can do. So I'll work with Lindy with the information, and I'll be sure to work not only with Shrewsbury Lodge, but also with the Lodge at Fallen Grove.
Okay, great.
Neil, you want to make a pitch for the new Freedom Lions while you're here? Freedom Lions.
I like that.
So everybody didn't get a chance to say their piece.
We like to work behind the scenes.
Thanks for coming out and making this happen tonight.
Thank
Thank you,
Wow,
everybody.
good to see you.